Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Oli Davis, and today we are reviewing WrestleKingdom 12. The show with Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho, Kazuchika Okada versus Tetsuya Naito, Minoru Suzuki versus Horoki Goto, all of the high flyers in the world versus each other, Young Bucks, other people, excellent wrestling 6-star Dave Meltzer. It's his favourite night of the year. And I'm joined by Luke Owen.
We've already done that.
Have I done that?
You went into podcast mode for a second
did.
when you were introducing me.
I got mixed up with all the excitement. Yeah, so we just watched it. If you want to go straight to any of the big match discussions, timestamps in the video description below, or stay right here, where we're going to go through the card from top to bottom, like we would for a WWE pay-per-view.
Really, we should have renamed this WrestleKingdom Ramble.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we might... Don't rule that out, man.
No, absolutely
because
not.
That's a good gag. So if we have called it that, that's the genesis of that gag. Nice work, Luke.
You're welcome.
So we started WrestleKingdom 12 3 days ago, and we've just finished it. So this is the immediate reactions of us from watching all 79 hours of WrestleKingdom 12.
It was really funny as well, because I put up on Twitter that I thought it was I really enjoyed the show, and the more I think about it, the more I really enjoyed it. But because it's such a long show, it's like after the show I was like, yeah, I enjoyed that show. It was really good. But then I was thinking back and I was like, man, I loved that Cody match. I loved the Young Bucks match. I loved the 4-way. I loved Omega Jericho. Really liked Naito. I loved Suzuki. I was like, wow, actually, I loved most of this show. It feels so long ago that I started it. Like, it feels like I watched the Young Bucks match yesterday. And I put up on Twitter, I was like, yeah, that was a long show. And someone messaged me saying, yeah, it's a long show, but it's not WrestleMania long. And I always want to go back and actually, man, I think it's longer.
So
it's so much longer.
We watched it about 6 hours.
Yes.
Or maybe it wasn't quite that long because we didn't watch the Rumble. I'm sorry, people, we didn't watch the first match because it's sort of a joke throwaway thing. Although I heard it had a very nice ending. Yeah. Did you read about this? The guy,
I did, yes.
Yeah. So the winner, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, announced afterwards, I've beaten cancer myself, and please give money to support this other wrestler who's suffering from something.
Which is always great.
So,
plus, we got Cheeseburger and Jushin Thunder Liger.
Jushin Thunder Liger's favourite wrestler in the world, Cheeseburger. Who would have thought? He's a Ring of Honor guy. He's very thin.
I love Cheeseburger.
Yeah. Did you ever see where he got his name from?
No.
Okay, so it was back when Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin were in Ring of Honor as that I think they were called the World's Greatest Tag Team. Yeah. Amazing act. Charlie Haas was so good on the mic. And there's this kid at ringside. He's one of the sort of trainees who hangs out in the Ring of Honor ring. And he's like, who are you? Who's this kid? Have a cheeseburger. Come on. Because he's so thin. Yeah. And that name stuck.
One of my favourite matches of last year, or they didn't make it into the top 10, it wasn't that much of a favourite, but one of my favourite matches of last year was Cheeseburger versus Cody on Ring of Honor TV.
Yeah.
Genuinely, so great. It was so much fun.
I've seen a few really good Cheeseburger matches. He's really good.
It's really good. I like Cheeseburger.
But anyway, back to the main 5.5 hour chunk of Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, it was a long show, but it's a long show that I think you actually said, because we've got in the next issue of the WrestleTalk magazine, we've got live reactions as we're watching it. We recorded them, and that's going to be one of the features in the next issue. And you mentioned something in your little outro spiel that I completely agree with, which is that it is a long show, but the variety of matches really doesn't make it feel like quite as long, but it still is a very, very long show.
It's prohibitively long, I think. For me to criticize Royal Rumble or SummerSlam or WrestleMania or any of WWE's big pay-per-view events for being way too long, which they are, I don't find it a nice experience to sit through them from beginning to end, although I do enjoy the here and there matches. It would be hypocritical for me to not then say, this is ridiculous Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah,
this is so long. And it does devalue the matches, because it's spread out over such a long period of time. And all these, with the exception of about 3 matches, all of the rest of the matches were 4 stars and above. That is a crazy average.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've actually attempted star ratings.
You've attempted to be Dave Meltzer, and it's funny because I just misread your first one. And I thought you...
3,000 stars. No, it's Rappongi 3K.
No, I thought you'd rated it half a star. And I was like, what?
Nuh-uh. So we'll come back periodically to how long this show is. I think, just bits.
Yeah.
Bits seemed longer than others. Other bits, though, like the main event, I was like, that was 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't seen the official run times, but it feels that like Okada and Naito was shorter than Omega Jericho. But I'd imagine, if you probably weighed them up, that final match, the main event, actually went longer. But it didn't feel like it went as long.
It'd be interesting
to see. My other comment I want to make, just as an overall piece of Wrestle Kingdom, man, the commentary was good.
I was going to say the same thing. Don Callis and Kev... And this is from an uber Kevin Kelly, Steve Corino pairing fan. Loved them for years on Ring of Honor. Of course, Corino went on to WWE last year?
It's last year.
Last year. So last year's Wrestle Kingdom was his last one. And Don Callis joined, and everyone was a bit like, Don Callis? That's a bit of a out-the-box pick.
Yeah, I'd say so as well, yeah. The virus.
Yeah, hasn't done anything in wrestling for ages. And oh my God, isn't he such a good heel but credible commentator?
Yeah.
Funny when he's like an even better version of Corey Graves, to put it in a WWE way.
Would completely agree. I really, really liked him on this show.
So he adds he just has so many combat insights. Like, there was a bit where they were talking about the Young Bucks in the first match. Matt's back was injured, and he was trying to apply a sharpshooter, and Don Callis just says the legs are the heaviest part of a body, and Matt's trying to wrench that back using the power of his injured back.
Yeah.
Just that line, I was like, I feel what Matt's going through now. I can empathise with the match.
It was so perfectly put, where it's just like, this puts just as much pressure on Matt as it is on Yo, which I really liked.
And Kevin Kelly I've always been a fan of.
You've been a massive Kevin Kelly mark. You bloody mark. Yeah.
And
you're like what Brandy Rhodes said. You're just a simple mark.
Oh, Brandy. And one more thing. Although the camera work was sometimes sloppy, where they did miss a few spots, I prefer that kind of cutting rate where you only get like a cut every, 10 seconds. Cameras stayed on the action without cutting to other viewpoints for quite some time, as opposed to the WWE cut. And it's like, especially in hot tag sequences, they're cutting all over the place.
Constantly cutting to the crowd.
Yeah, I much prefer this, although the camera work wasn't amazing all the time. I would sacrifice missing the occasional spot to actually absorb it like a sport, like a boxing event. That's how boxing's filmed. And
the other thing as well, and perhaps this is just coming because you grow up with the WWE style. For podcast listeners, I'm using massive air quotes. You kind of get used to lots of replays.
Yes.
Which isn't a New Japan staple, really. They do have replays, but it would be like a replay of like, that dropkick was very nice, wasn't it? As opposed to like someone does a massive flip dive over 10,000 tables and crashes into 20,000 people. It's like, that's not a replay though, is it? But did you see that dropkick? That's worth a replay.
Yeah. I prefer it too. And it's not like a whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah.
They play a full screen. Yeah, so the production I really, really love. And the whole set and everything. Anyway, the card, like we said, we're not going to do the Rumble, so we'll kick off with the Young Bucks beating Rappongi, my apologies, 3K, so not the 2K version with Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta, but the Yo and Show version, a tag team who only debuted a couple of months ago, really. They won the tag team tournament, then they won the tag team titles, and this was the Young Bucks going after their 7th IWGP Junior Tag Team Championship belts.
And it was a really interesting story as well, because the Young Bucks were there as like the experienced guys trying to teach these young boys, these young lads, a lesson. And very much like the start of the match was very much just like, who are you? You get my bags, this and that. And they were putting this massively over on commentary as well. I was like, yeah, these guys used to carry bags for all the wrestlers. And I really liked that element of it. But I felt that then didn't really play into the finish. Because I thought if you're going to tell that story, it would have been better had Rappongi 3K won.
Yes, which you would want them going into the match as the challengers, really. Yeah, this was definitely for the Young Bucks rather than... It was more about getting the Young Bucks over than it was the new team.
Which is a shame,
But the new team already won like the big tournament on their first tryout, they won the belts.
Yeah, I get that, but I just feel that if you're going down the storyline of this is a tag team that we want to be pushing, if they want to be pushing this tag team, then, a big win on their very first Wrestle Kingdom against a very experienced tag team of the Young Bucks, particularly with this story you're telling in the match, I feel for me would have been much better. But I see why the Young Bucks won.
That's fair. But it's hard to criticize when the match.
Oh man, the
good
match was awesome.
So as a peel back for how long we've been watching this, it's currently like the late afternoon.
It is. It's 4:30.
Yeah. I watched this at 8 a.m. No, not 8 a.m. At 9 a.m. with my breakfast.
Yeah, I got into the studio. I came in fairly early so I could watch it. I was about 2 hours behind. And I also had my breakfast while watching this match. And as I said, it feels like I watched this match yesterday.
It's insane. Yeah, it just feels like another time watch this. Back when my wrestling eyes were fresh and I loved everything. So that story, that you're right, that's sort of the context. But the actual story of the match, which is... I think people get an idea of the Young Bucks as being these spot-fest monkeys, and they don't do anything that plays into emotion. I completely disagree with that. But what a better example to show those sorts of criticizers than this match, because it was perfectly based around the selling of Matt Jackson's back injury against Yo's back injury. And the way that played into the match, I thought it was brilliant. The Don Callis spot we talked about earlier. Everything. I just loved this match.
In fact, I'm pretty sure it was either Kevin Kelly or Don Callis said pretty much what you just said on commentary there. Said, like, those people who say the Young Bucks don't know how to work a body part, they're wrong. And then I think pretty much, like, they did this a couple of times throughout the night where they were just like, those people who criticize Kenny Omega, they're idiots. Those people who criticize the Young Bucks, basically it's like, Jim Cornette, you're an idiot.
Yeah, they were just making fun of Jim Cornette the entire night.
Pretty
or
much.
Anyone who criticizes that sort of style of the Young Bucks, Omega.
Absolutely,
sort of stuff.
But man alive, did the Young Bucks ever deliver a nasty-looking powerbomb to poor old Rocky Romero on the ramp?
Who is Rappongi 3K's manager?
Yeah, man, what a powerbomb that was as well. Like he took it like a champ, and I just felt really bad for him.
Yeah, and he sold it for the entire match.
He did,
because I kind of forgot that happened, and then they went back up the ramp later on, and he's still lying there. So that means Rocky sold that for about 4 days, going by the Wrestle Kingdom time.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. My standout for this match, though, was Sho of Rappongi 3K. I just thought he was awesome. His kicks and his slaps and everything, I just thought were absolutely awesome. Just crisp and loud and, like, just looked real and genuine. I thought he was the real standout of the match for me.
Matt Jackson for me. I thought his selling was superb. There was some beautiful moments when Matt was in a submission and they, both sort of the revival DIY spots where they're both trying to stop each other tapping.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, actually, there was one point where Matt went to hit and Nick just grabbed his hand and was like, "Don't do it! Don't you do it!" But yeah, it's very much the revival DIY stuff that they did. But you shouldn't really mention the revival along with the Young Bucks. No.
My apologies.
FTR.
So yes, the Young Bucks win, tapping out one of Yo or Sho, can't remember who, with a sharpshooter.
I believe it was Yo.
I have given this 4.5 stars.
On the Ollie Davis rating, 4.5 stars. The new Dave Meltzer over here.
No. I just thought it would be interesting to rate how good this pay-per-view was to me. Oh my God, I'm going to get crucified. Why did I do this?
I don't know. You said to me, you're like, do you think we should give these star ratings? And I was like, no, because I think star ratings are quite silly, but...
I always get on this kick. I get on this kick every January where I'm like, I'm going to rate every single match I see, and then at the end of the year, I'm going to see what my favourite matches were. And I get about, 2 months in, which is exactly what happened last year with my top 10 matches of the month video, stopped after February. And I just was like, but this match and this match I've rated the same, but one's got to be better. And I fall into this trap of 4.1235 stars.
Exactly, that's what Dave Meltzer does. Like, after a while, especially now because he's got the essentially it's based on 6 stars and then 6.5 stars or 6.25 stars or whatever it is that he kind of bases things on. By the way, actually, I will say about the commentary, I'll mention this a bit more in the main event, but they were winding me up talking about that, which I thought it was really self-aggrandizing and actually put me off the match a little bit. That aside, so I think this with film ratings, like giving star ratings for films, I think is quite arbitrary, and because you're right. Like, this is a 4-star movie. Is this also a 4-star movie? Yeah, but this one's better. But they're both 4 stars.
I would say the answer, as so many things do, lies in the middle. They're not arbitrary because you are basing it on experience and everything else you've seen, but they're not the be-all and end-all either. So there's this wonderful sweet point where you should just use the star ratings that we're going to give. If you don't want to watch the 20 days of WrestleKingdom 12, then just say, hey, I'm only going to watch the matches that are rated above 4 stars. By Oli and Luke.
By just Oli.
So I gave this 4.5.
Fair enough.
What would you say to that?
I'm not giving star rates.
Next up, the tag gauntlet for the heavyweight. No, it was for the Never 6-man title.
That's right.
I didn't care about this match, as you can probably tell.
No, yeah, but it did feature War Machine, who I think are absolutely awesome because they're just 2 big burly dudes. I've really enjoyed them on Ring of Honor, and yeah, they're great.
Soon to WWE, probably.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's some fairly good stuff in this, but I wasn't massively keen on it. I think pretty much my takeaway of this match was War Machine are great, not enough Yano face.
Yeah.
And that'll be it.
It was kind of the classic, let's get everyone on the card. This is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal for mid-carders or tag teams. What
I would say, Ollie Davis, is this is not the best example for you to get trios championships in WWE.
No. So just as a brief recap, War Machine and Michael Elgin were the first team up against Suzuki Gun. Hansen, one of the big burly guys from War Machine, did a top rope moonsault.
He certainly did. Yeah.
My favourite spot of this match was after that, Zack Sabre Jr. got Raymond Rowe in a sort of, well, first it was a choke, and then it turned, you know how Sabre Jr. kind of morphs his body around you and doesn't let you get out. Incredible stuff, and he was just on for about a minute, going from headlock to armbar and then he hooked in the ankle when Ray was down to the floor. That was great, and that's when Ray tapped and moved on to the next one. Chaos came out.
Yep.
Chaos beat Suzuki Gun with a Yano low blow.
Yeah.
But no Yano face, which Kevin Kelly said, right in the ding-ding. And then right after he said, that's what Carino used to say before he left the territory. Which I thought was a really nice... He was like, love you, Steve.
I missed that. That's very good.
That was very good. And then Taguchi Japan came up
next,
which was Taguchi,
nice little tribute to Nakamura in this. He did like the Nakamura like hold onto the ring ropes and do this, and then went for the Kinshasa, but it was a roll-up then by Yano.
Yep, so then it was finally Chaos versus the Bullet Club, which means we got some Ishii against Bad Luck Fale. That's our favourite thing, small Ishii against huge guys.
Yes.
And he hit a suplex. Good grief.
I was going to say, it was all built around... I basically said, like, this is very much like the Keith Lee match from Rev Pro last year, where they were like really building up the suplex. And Kevin Kelly and Don Callis, to their credit, were doing a very good job of being like, well, he's not going to suplex Bad Luck Fale. Look at him. Look at Bad Luck Fale. Look at Ishii. It's not going to happen. But we know. And it was great. I love Ishii. He's just like this little pit bull. He's awesome.
So I love Ishii too. And, you know, we raved about him after the match we saw at Rev Pro. He had a great year last year. He's... the Long Beach match with Omega and the teeth biting the ropes. That was so good, that spot. His performance in the G1. But here, you know, it feels a bit of a waste of Ishii just in a gauntlet 6-man belt.
And now, I wasn't massively keen on it. But
at least he won the title.
But Chaos won.
Yeah, so Ishii, Trent Beretta, and Toriano,
and Beretta went with the Dude Buster.
Which is his first title as a heavyweight.
Oh, yes, because he's gone... Yeah.
He's gone from junior to heavyweight, I
think
that's what you say.
Next up might be... Let me just check.
Oh, I gave that 2.5 stars.
2.5 stars. Oh, excellent. Okay. Okay. Well, this is going to be interesting then. Because I was about to say, I think this might be my favourite match on the card.
So it's a 5-star match, you're saying? Did Luke Owen just rate Kota Ibushi versus Cody Rhodes as 6 stars?
I don't think I did. No,
I think that's what you said. No, Quote him on that.
I think I said this might be my favourite match of the night.
at 6 stars. Do you want to walk us through?
This was Cody Rhodes versus Kota Ibushi. This was meant to be for the Ring of Honor World Championship, but Cody lost that Ring of Honor World Championship to Dalton Castle. So now it was just being billed as a special attraction match, and I thought it was awesome. I thought this was a really, really terrific match. Cody is just like he exudes star power. I just think he's a really, really great... He's a great professional wrestler, and Brandy really adds a lot to his act of them coming out as like the royal family of wrestling. I love them as a duo. Kota Ibushi is absolutely awesome as he usually is. He had some really great spots like Kota Ibushi accidentally hitting Brandy, and Cody Rhodes kind of using that to his advantage. But Kota, being the gentleman that he is, wasn't trying to capitalize on Cody. He was making sure that Brandy was all right. But maybe like the big spot of this match was the crossroads off the apron. Oh. So, we've seen WWE. If you haven't seen the show, you've seen WWE. Cody Rhodes hits the crossroads. You get him in a little thing, and you flip him over like that.
The best one ever is on Seth Rollins.
Yes.
You remember the one? Seth Rollins took it so well.
But he was they did it on the apron, and he just flipped him right over in the crossroads to the floor, and it looked like it sucked for Ibushi, but it looked...
Landed like that.
Oh, man, but it was like a jump out of your seat moment. I thought it was a really, really cool spot. But yeah, I thought this was and it was a great close call for the count out there as well. He got in just at the 19 mark. It was really, really great. I thought this was a really great war. I just really enjoyed the match.
I've written decent match.
Oh,
giving it 3.5 stars.
I mean, my mind might be changed because I also really enjoyed the 4-way as well.
But that's not to say I didn't enjoy this match. I did very much, and I'm quite taken with Brandy Rhodes.
You certainly
always
are,
have
been,
and she was my main takeaway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good lots of sort of dastardly Cody cheating. I'm unfortunate. I love Cody, but some people I don't see. He's done so well on since leaving WWE. But I do see him as like an upper mid-card guy. I still don't see him at that top level.
No, I think that the stuff that he did in Ring of Honor, I think kind of elevated him past that. Because when he was in WWE, I never kind of got like they should be pushing Cody, because I was like, I think Cody's a very solid mid-card guy. He was great in his tag team run with Goldust, and I loved him in Legacy with Randy Orton stuff, but I never saw him as that upper level guy. But since his move to Ring of Honor, since joining the Bullet Club and the stuff that he's been doing, I think that he's an absolutely world-class talent.
I do love him. I just don't get that star power.
No.
Next up, we had LIJ versus KES.
Yes.
So that's Killer Elite Squad versus Los Ignorables del Japan.
Yes.
Japan.
Yeah, Evil and Sonata, you could just say.
Sonata, I should have said.
Pretty much.
So I've just got Killer Elite Squad are really big. They mostly took the match.
That's pretty much what it was. Yeah, it was just. I've actually called him Lance Hoyt here, calling back to his TNA days. And what a mark I am. I'm not calling him by his slave name.
His New Japan slave name.
No, so I thought that basically Davey Boy and Lance Archer just dominated the match, and then Evil Sonata got the win afterwards. There was kind of like a thing with this show, which was maybe I'm wrong on this one, but it felt like it was peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
So you had the really great Young Bucks match, then you had the tag team gauntlet, then you had the really great Cody Rhodes Cody Rhodes. Yeah, no, I was right. Yeah, Ibushi match. Yeah, so I was thinking of Ishii, and then you had this with the tag match. Then you go right back up again for the next match. But I enjoyed it.
They're bringing you up. They're bringing you down. So I gave that 2.5 stars. I've got to be honest though, I didn't really pay attention.
No, I'm amazed the rating is that high.
Yeah, it didn't grab me in the slightest. Next up though, I think the main Wrestle Kingdom card, I disagree with the up and down because
that's why I just didn't at the start.
I think Young Bucks up here, then everything is about here, and then we get back to Suzuki and Goto, which is now.
Yeah.
Loved this match. The story is hair versus hair. Minoru Suzuki has been bullying Goto for ages, and now Goto's finally getting his revenge, or not revenge, but a chance to go against Suzuki without Suzuki Gun, which is Suzuki's often cheating faction. And it was just a match full of two guys clobbering each other.
Yeah, this match was, to coin a phrase, stiff as a dick.
Yeah, not many moves. Just
I mean, in a Suzuki match, are you trying to tell me something? Well, no, yeah, this was very much your an average. Well, not I don't want to say an average. This was your typical, that's maybe the word, Minoru Suzuki match, which is I am going to stiff the heck out of you. You'd better stiff me back. Let's beat the holy hell out of each other, and then Suzuki gonna come and gonna cause some shenanigans.
Yeah, so it was that's it, isn't it? You stiff me, I stiff you. You stiff me, I'll laugh it off until you stiff me so much where my legs start to wobble, and then I'll start to sell for you.
Yeah,
and it's how.
You love it though, don't you?
I love it.
You've given this match 4 stars.
Well, that's more just because of the story. It was a bit repetitive. I found myself after a while. I just write great strike exchange. Great strike exchange. I've written that 4 times.
Yeah, Suzuki is so scary. Suzuki is scary. That's pretty much all my things are.
So it was mostly just stiff strikes for the whole match.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit of nonsense with Suzuki Gun, which I never enjoy. I don't think it needs it. But Goto won. And here is where I really enjoyed the match anyway, the strike exchanges.
Considering my favourite match of the show. My favourite move of the match though was the Super Ushigoroshi off the top rope, which I think is just I think it's an excellent move anyway. And Goto just executed it perfectly off the top rope. I was like, oh, that looked like it killed.
So this match was really good. I enjoyed it, but then the post-match angle I thought was lovely. So it was a hair versus hair match. Goto wins. Goto overcomes the bully. But Suzuki Gun, they're a heel faction. They take their leader and they walk him off. We're not going to get to see Goto get his revenge and shave Suzuki's head. That's the honour of this match, because Goto's, I think he's very honour-based. And Suzuki is unconscious when he's being carried away after such a war. It felt like a war at times. And then he comes to and he's like, no, wait a second. I lost this match. Even though I'm a heel, I'm going to go back and do the right thing and take my punishment. Yeah. And that's what he did. I loved that. And a chair was already set up for him. He picked up a different chair, whacked the chair that was set up for him away. He grabbed the hair clippers out of Goto's hand, shaved his own hair, his long ponytail bit off at the back. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was such a good storytelling character bit. Loved it.
Particularly with like the your goon squad around you being like, we got to protect the boss. So they take him away, and then he's like, no, I'm an honourable man. I thought it was really cool.
So I gave that 4 stars. If it even matters anymore.
Oh, you have gone to quarters as well. I see in this.
Well,
next
I was like, well, I liked it more than that one, but I didn't like it as much as this one.
Already your star ratings is falling apart, mate.
Wait till you get to the 4.165. Pi. I've just put pi down for 1.
This is great. So next we had this actually probably was my favourite match of the show. Although,
really?
Well, okay. So I loved this match. This was the 4-way match between KUSHIDA, Takahashi, Marty Scurll, and Will Ospreay. I thought this match was brilliant, but this was moves. This was a bunch of moves. Some guys did some moves over here. Some lads did some moves over here. They all got together and did some moves in here. Then they did some more moves, went up to the top rope and did some moves, went to the outside and did some moves, then did some moves, did more moves, and then the finish happened.
Yes.
And I loved it. Loved every single second. I loved every move that happened. Slight bodge towards the end, but loved it.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed it as well. I think there was a little bit of a story there, which was Marty Scurll's the champion, junior heavyweight champion, and he has gotten the better of Ospreay all over. That's not strictly true, but they're telling the story that all over the world, Scurll has always beaten Ospreay. And they said that as Marty Scurll was walking down, or Will Ospreay, and I thought, Will Ospreay's winning. And that turned out to be the case. Will Ospreay is our new junior heavyweight champion.
Certainly did.
So that was the story, and they did tell that story in parts. Like there was a wonderful moment when Scurll and Ospreay had to work together.
That was my favourite spot of the match. Yeah, I thought it was really great.
Unfortunately, the very next spot they screwed up.
Yeah.
Which was such a shame because it had real momentum. I was like, we're finally getting into the story part. I'd be curious to know how much that affected the next couple of minutes because there was a bit of a schmoz there, wasn't there?
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like, I'm going to throw you. No, actually, I'll throw you.
But it was still like, I mean, everyone is so talented in this match. It's hard to criticize.
I've listened really an entire page of notes on this match.
There's no point. It's just because it's just like brutal this, flip over hit. Everything's as awesome as each other.
Yeah, lots of, I mean, there was amazing, like, couple of, like, Oz cutters into chicken wing moments, lots of chicken wing spots, and something that maybe has just sort of passed me by, but, Cheeky Nando's.
Yeah, I didn't know that was the name of that particular move either.
No.
So it's the move where their legs are on the second rope, but they're sort of folded over, so the back of their head is on the top turnbuckle, and then you give a super kick to their face. And Kevin Kelly was like, looks like it's time for a Cheeky Nando's, which is...
And I turned to you and I was like, Cheeky Nando's?
I didn't know that was a thing either. Nando's is a Portuguese chicken restaurant, fast food chain,
yes,
which inexplicably is very popular.
Oh, it's beloved in the United Kingdom. Everyone loves a Nando's.
And there is a phrase, shall we go for a cheeky Nando's, implying, oh yeah, let's have a little Nando's. Let's treat ourselves. And that's now a move. That's now the name for a very cool move. The other bit, actually, there was another bit of story, which was Scurll kept on doing these dastardly things, but those actually backfired on him. Mm-hmm. So he taped up Takahashi on the outside rail at one point.
Yep.
But then when he got some powder out later, he actually exposed, like, some scissors fell out the same bag, and that's what Takahashi used to release himself. I wasn't a fan of the powder, of the tape.
Yeah.
It takes me back to that awful Big Show Del Rio Last Man Standing match.
How did you feel about the umbrella?
Umbrella shots. Wow, I forgot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And not to mention, though, Takahashi's sunset power bombs onto the floor from the ring apron, because holy heckins did he deliver those. Like, the first one he did to Ospreay just felt like he power bombed right through the ground.
Yeah.
And then he did one he ran back in the ring and then gave one to Scurll. Scurll's head basically went through the guardrail. It looked so scary.
And then Kushida did one to Takahashi later on.
Yeah.
Which was the worst of them all. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, but then for the finish, Scurll comes in and he's hitting everyone with the umbrella. And those shots, I hope that was a gimmicked rubber handle, because it looked like he hit them square in the face.
Yeah.
Rather than I mean, God, I wouldn't even want to be hit with a weapon like that there.
No, I mean, it had to be gimmick because it was making such a hell of a sound.
Yeah.
But the other thing I suppose we haven't actually mentioned about Marty Scurll, which you loved, was his entrance.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you go, mate, you go.
So he wears the, I don't know what...
Blas Plagas mask.
Great word.
I think it's just a Plagas mask. But...
Plagas mask, which is the long sort of beaked thing that they used to use in the plague that doctors had, and chicken wing and everything. So he comes out for his entrance, and he's standing there at the top of the ramp, and out of nowhere, these huge black wings appear behind him.
So great.
Yes, so cool. And he had a custom WrestleKingdom umbrella. Don Callis awesomely said on commentary, each feather is a broken finger of his opponent's.
Beautiful.
Which is just awesome.
Love that.
Scurll posted on Twitter shortly after, I hope everyone understands how hard it was for me to get these wings to Japan. So well done for creating an awesome moment.
But yeah, I absolutely loved it. There was just, you're right, we kind of said this at the start, there's almost too many spots to kind of go through. But yeah, reverse 450s, just multiple attempts at the Oz cutter into chicken wings, Oz cutter into all sorts of things. You had hoverboard stretches, you had time bombs, you had all sorts going on. It was a great match. I loved it. Just moves.
Will Ospreay climbed up
the structure, yeah.
The structure, like, at the start of the match, and did a moonsault off that.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
So crazy
leading to one of always my favourite things in wrestling, when someone goes to do a high spot and the people below have to catch them, just sort of have to stand there for a bit and wait for them to do it.
But afterwards, Ospreay just winked at the camera.
Yeah, gave a little cheeky really wink. Cool. And Kevin Kelly on commentary after that, we just went, oh, the cheeky bugger.
Cheeky Nando's.
Cheeky bugger, lovely stuff.
So Ospreay won. He's the new junior heavyweight champion, which is great. Great for the division. So I really enjoyed the match like you did, but I much preferred Kushida versus Takahashi from last year. And there were times in this match, as awesome and crazy as it was, I thought, I wish this was a singles match.
That's because when you're in a singles match, it's less bunch of moves.
Yeah, I wish it was Ospreay versus Scurll.
Yeah, that would have been.
That was the main story they were telling, apart from a crazy hot tag kind of Takahashi sequence.
Yeah,
forgot about that bit as well. But yeah, so I wanted it to be Ospreay versus Scurll in the end.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
So I gave that 4.25.
But again, that's the got to get everyone on the card.
Yeah. Next up, Tanahashi. Hiromu Tanahashi, the Intercontinental Champion, took on Jay White.
Yeah.
From his excursion in Ring of Honor. He came back at the end of last year as a new character, brand new character, Switchblade Jay White.
It's a cool character.
Yeah,
it's a cool gimmick.
And it was a really nice story that they got over on commentary. Was Jay White was a young boy in New Japan. He has seen everything Tanahashi has done. Tanahashi, was he was the John Cena of New Japan for all its dark years, and he rebuilt the company, really. Jay White has seen everything that Tanahashi's done. Tanahashi hasn't seen everything Jay White's done. So I really like that. And of course, Tanahashi was selling what was injured? His knee or his bicep?
I can't even remember now. This actually feels like it was much longer ago. You've written much more. You've written more notes on this than
right.
I have.
Yeah, I haven't written a great deal because, unfortunately, and the crowd was super into it. I wasn't.
No, I wasn't really into this match, I have to say. I think Jay White's got a really cool gimmick about him, and Tanahashi's great and all, but yeah, I wasn't really into this match. My notes really are. This is a cool gimmick. Tanahashi wins.
Yeah. Although Jay looked good in defeat.
Yeah.
Tanahashi won. There was the first retention on the show. All the other titles had changed hands. But Jay really did dominate Takahashi. But then you're like, but that was because Tanahashi was injured. So, I wasn't a big fan. I did like the bit when Jay White said on the outside, you can do this sort of thing when it's a Japanese audience. He said, I'm going to effing tear you apart. Straight into the camera while Tanahashi was there.
Absolutely,
so I gave that, I think I'm going to, for the New Japan diehards, I've given a Tanahashi match 3 stars.
And so you've rated that higher than... quite a few.
No.
You rated it higher than... Oh, no, yeah, lower than Ibushi, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, the only things lower were the tag gauntlet and the tag match.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So I'm sticking by that, I think.
Okay, you stick by that.
But here we go. Here is probably what the...
I just want to say, just to point out how arbitrary star ratings are, you gave that 3 stars, and then at one point during that review said, wasn't into the match. Sorry, Yano face.
I was more into the match than the others, though. Okay, so here's the moment everyone is probably waiting for. Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega in a no DQ match for Kenny Omega's United States heavyweight title.
Certainly was. Alpha versus Omega. This had like a really big fight feel about it. Yeah. So, the main event did as well, but this really was. The crowd was super into it. Jericho came out to Fozzy, of course. Omega did his big entrance. Omega did his entrance that was based on Stargate. It's something that I've drawn a bit of heat from on Twitter, because I did say that Kenny Omega is probably the only person in the world who thinks Stargate is cool.
For the record, I think Stargate is cool. I used to be so into that. I remember telling my dad at one point when I was young, when I was a nipper, what career pathways are there for hieroglyphics? Like, can I do ancient Egypt and hieroglyphics and stuff and get a job out of this? When I'm like 12 trying to figure out the world?
It's funny because I was trying to think, because I've watched the Stargate movie last year. I think I rewatched it, and I was like, yeah, this movie's not that great.
I like it.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
I like the lore.
Yeah, it's mostly doofy though. And then I made that comment on Twitter, and then I had a lot of people come back to me and say, like, you are so wrong. Stargate's really cool. And then my old housemate from university got in touch with me and just reminded me why I think Stargate's pretty lame. And it's my other housemate. Always watch. He watched that and Angel. Those were his 2 favorite shows, and he'd always watch it. And I think that's what it is. It's almost like I'd completely forgotten about it, but it was like a Pavlovian response to be like, "God, this is lame."
Well, Kenny Omega's pretty cool. Kenny Omega doesn't think it's lame. He came out, it was like a giant cosplay gun and what they called.
I don't know. You're the one who wanted to study hieroglyphics.
I want to say Anubis. Anubis is the Egyptian god that looks like that, but that sort of headdress. I might be wrong with that.
But
yes.
I did say at the time when he came out and he had this sort of like big, you're right, cosplay. He had like the cosplay gun and he had the costume and everything. And then I turned to you and I was like, it seems so lame when Triple H does it, but Kenny Omega does make this look cool. Like, remember when Triple H did the Terminator entrance and we all went like, God, that's lame. This is so lame.
Yeah, but when Omega did it last year, really cool.
Everyone was like, God, this is wicked.
It's Will Smith in Men in Black.
The
difference is...
I make this look good.
Chris Jericho came out in his light-up jacket, a source of much comedy in WWE. But when he came out, I was like... I'm scared of Jericho.
My first note here, it's really nice to see serious Jericho because the last few years we've seen him in WWE, he was goofy Chris Jericho with the stupid idiot, the list, and all this sort of gubbins. But it was just really nice to see him back being serious Chris Jericho. And that's kind of why Jericho is one of the greatest of all time, because he is someone who can go in both directions and yet recover so well from both. Like, you know, this time last year, he was doofy Chris Jericho being locked in shark cages, wearing scarves and stuff. And everyone's like, oh, he's wearing a scarf. What a doofus. Here, he's wearing a scarf. You're like, oh, I don't want to mess with him.
He was spelling names wrong on easy names wrong on a list.
Yeah, and just saying and like that was his gimmick. It was like he says it, and he made up town names that he won the Money in the Bank in. Like that was Jericho's gimmick. And yet here he is, and all of a sudden you're like, this Chris Jericho's he's a mean killer dude, and he was great in this match.
Really, really good. So let's try and. This was a great match. It was a great match. I've got a lot of notes.
In the first 5 minutes of this match, there was a springboard senton through a table. Like, and he went far. Like, Omega went very far.
It wasn't a senton, was it? So this was the spot when Jericho was on the outside and Omega leapt over the top rope.
Yes, you're right, yeah.
And sort of just like threw himself for a splash almost, and went over the barricade. Jericho moved, and Omega went through the announcer's table with the screen, the monitors there.
Yeah, took out Don Callis in the process.
Yeah, and Don Callis was taken out. That looked horrible, but it also looked amazing. And Jericho was right in there, like throwing the monitor in his face. Red Shoes, the referee, was trying to pull him off.
Yep.
And Jericho beat up Red Shoes and then beat up Red Shoes' son, who was a young boy at ringside.
Put him in the walls of Jericho.
Screaming like, "Is this your son? Look at him." It's like, oh my God, Chris Jericho.
Where's the list?
Yeah.
I thought it was really great. And that's the first 5 minutes of the match. And it felt like just an all-out war throughout. It never really let up. And one of the things I really loved about this match and the kind of the story they were telling, particularly on commentary with Kevin Kelly and Don Callis, when Don Callis eventually got back into the match because they had to kind of like reconnect everything and get them new chairs and stuff. There was a moment, they were really putting this over on commentary, that Kenny Omega has wrestled everyone in the world, and he's wrestled the world's best that it has to offer, but he's never been in a match like this. And they were really putting that over, and I really liked that story.
And the flip side was Jericho's wrestled Brock Lesnar. He's wrestled Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Beat Austin and The Rock on the same night. It was the first WWF Undisputed Champion. Like it's all gimmick stuff, but like in kayfabe terms, that makes Jericho seem like this ultimate badass dude. It was really great.
But he's never beaten Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
And you're like, these two have never faced. And it was because it had such like an old school wrestling build of just, I'm gonna beat you up. Bloody injury angle, and then just a proper blood feud. The blood came out pretty quick when Jericho rammed Omega's head into a chair in the turnbuckle.
God, there's so many things now. Powerbomb to the floor, springboard to the knee.
Omega jumping off the rigging onto a table, doing a stomp on the table with Jericho underneath.
Yes, the other one was really good. So Kenny Omega got up onto the top ropes to do a springboard move. Jericho springboarded himself and drop kicked him right in the knee, the surgically repaired knee. Another really great spot in the match that was kind of building around the previous injury. Loved all this.
Really, really good. There was cold spray as well. At one point when Jericho had Omega in one of the many walls of Jericho's of the match, Omega was reaching to the outside and he ripped off the apron and he found some cold spray and sprayed it in Jericho's eyes. And Jericho's like, I can't see. It
might be one of my only spots in the match I didn't like.
Yeah, that was at the lower end.
Only because, as you know, it was, I don't know, like
it's a bit like powder.
Like, and not only that, but Omega went to the wrong side to find it, or like he went to the right side to find it but couldn't actually reach it, so then he had to go to the other side of the corner to get it, and then when he got it, shouted, "Jericho, look!" And it was almost like it felt like a bit like calling spots.
Yeah.
So That was I didn't think it was a great spot in the match.
The other thing to criticize is the guy in the crowd constantly screaming, Kenny! But a lot longer and a lot more annoying.
Do you know what we can praise? Kenny Omega's V-triggers.
Oh!
He had about 25,000 of them, and each one sounded better than the last.
You know, Omega's always like, I want to prove to everyone that my style of wrestling is the real, like the proper style of wrestling and it's the best in the world. I think his style of wrestling is actually kneeing people in the face. Like, that's not a wrestling move. He's just kneeing people.
Yeah, pretty much.
'Cause I can't figure out. Does he like shin pad kick someone's chest to get the sound?
I'm Scooby-Doo, mate.
I can't work
Love
it
it.
out.
I
don't
think
want to know either.
No, absolutely. I thought it was really great. And there was lots of really cool counters in this, like they did the one-wing angel into the walls of Jericho. Like, that sounds unbelievable, but it does happen. But that was actually the other thing on this I didn't really like. Early in the match, they had him in the walls of Jericho, and they were building, and Kenny was reaching for the ropes. And they were making this whole point, it's like, it's a no DQ match. Like, why? Like, he doesn't need to go for the ropes. And Jericho kept shouting to Red Shoes, "It's a no DQ. I'm not getting off of him." But then later in the match, they did the walls of Jericho again, but were building it towards a rope break spot. And Kenny got to the ropes, and Jericho let go. And I was like, well, I thought it was just a bit sloppy, considering you did that spot earlier in the match.
It is a very weird oversight.
Yeah, really weird
considering,
oversight.
I mean, how long both men have had to go over the match. I imagine like a lot of this was not, a lot of this, well, I don't know how much was called in the ring. But this, it was weird. It did stick out like a sore thumb.
And you can make, you said at the time, it's like, well, I think Jericho let go because he's exhausted. But I was like, but that's kind of not what they were playing up on commentary. It's not really what they're playing up the match.
It's a weak explanation.
It's a weak explanation.
But the sequence beforehand was amazing. It was the one-winged angel into the walls, like you said, but then Jericho turned it into the lion tamer.
Lion tamer, which we haven't seen in so long.
And Omega was using the referee's hand to stop himself from tapping, and then used the referee to get to that.
He used
him
to like create momentum. Yeah.
And then because the last 5-10 minutes of the match were really good. Then a one-winged angel on Jericho, Kenny Omega's finishing move, but way too close to the ropes. Jericho reaches out right at the last second, grabs the bottom rope. Amazing near fall.
Yeah, really
good. It felt like a war by this point. And then a code breaker from Jericho on Omega.
Out of nowhere, no less, as well.
Yeah, but Jericho is so slow to make the pin. Smart, protecting the move.
He's done this before.
Yeah, and then it was a near fall, and then it was a one-winged angel onto a chair.
Oh, that looked so brutal. There were quite a few sort of into-chair moments that felt really because Jericho beat the holy hell out of poor Kenny Omega with that chair. But the actual one-winged angel onto the chair looked like the most brutal part of the match. And and Kenny won.
Yeah, which kind of hints that Jericho is going back to WWE sooner rather than later. Not another match in New Japan. Unless he has been sort of feuding with Naito on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've been going back and forth. Naito's called out Jericho a few times saying, "You're not the co-main event, we're the real main event." Jericho's replied. So that would be a nice way to take Jericho if he chooses to stay to do a few more matches.
Yeah.
I would like that.
What are your thoughts on him dedicating the match to Eddie and Chris Benoit?
I think it's a nice sentiment. I mean, I understand. Maybe it should be something he does privately.
Yes.
In my head, I'm dead. So maybe because you're just gonna split.
I think there is literally no way in the world you can sort of dedicate something to Benoit and have it not come off badly.
Or go, well, why is everyone annoyed?
Exactly.
It's quite obvious why not everyone, but why a lot of people would be against that. But at the same time, he knew Benoit and Eddie through all the years. I imagine it's only it came as a shock to him. It's not black and white.
I thought the way that he dealt with it in the book, his first book, where he was just I talk about Benoit a lot and I talk about him being a friend, but I'm talking about the Benoit that I knew, not the Benoit that did all of those things. And that's a really, really great kind of internal logic to explain thing in the book. Problem is, not everyone's going to have read that book, so not everyone knows that that's his mindset. So when you just say I'm dedicating this match to Elgin, I'm going to dedicate this match to Charles Manson. It doesn't come across as very good.
Yeah. But this match, back to the wrestling element.
Yeah. I just never thought I'd agree with Ryan Satin.
Was that this is the best Jericho match.
Wasn't it just?
I cannot remember.
Do you know what? I'm actually going to go back to...
I'm thinking Rey Mysterio, Clash of Champions.
I don't remember that match.
That's like 09.
The first one I thought, though, that came to my head was Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. But that was WrestleMania. That was WrestleMania 19, I think, which is even further back. So I'm trying to think of a really great Chris Jericho match after that. His match with Punk was pretty good at WrestleMania. I mean, I'd have to go back through Jericho's back catalogue.
There probably is, but in my memory, like as a standout thing, the last time I remember was the Mysterio match. I think it was a Clash of Champions.
Yeah, I mean, the first one I could think of is like a two, like where you're at that sort of 4.5 star, 5 star quality, or maybe 4.5 star if you're going to go into this match rating system.
4.5 stars is what Oli gave it.
If I'm thinking 4.5 stars Jericho matches, I'm thinking Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 19.
But because he's just been a character, he's been a very good character.
Yeah,
that's been the best side. For Kenny Omega. Just another great match.
Another day at the office.
Different kind of match, which is what's really nice about this. So, the main event after... And by this point, like, I was a bit tired.
Yeah, you were very exhausted like this. I've watched quite a few shows with you now.
I'm not an endurance guy.
You're really not.
Ask my girlfriend.
When we went to see the Raw taping last April, like, you were dead by almost the end of hour 2. When we watched SummerSlam, you popped massively for the main events, but you were really dipping. I think when you watched the Royal Rumble live one year, it was WrestleMania live one year, and you were like, I need like 3 days off to recover.
Never doing it again.
You're never doing it again. Yeah, you're not into watching a lot of wrestling in one sitting.
I'm the same with anything though. I'm not really a marathon guy. I like 2 to 3 hour long wrestling events.
Yeah.
If it's a progress show or an independent thing, I can stretch to 3.5, 4, but that requires a lot of liquor and a lot of chanting.
Absolutely, yeah. But
I mean, like from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah.
That isn't like the best time to not get a lunch coma.
No, I suppose not, no.
So,
but here we are, the main event of the night, which was Naito versus Okada. And, I mean, we said there was a big match feel for Omega Jericho. There was a hell of a big time feel for this match as well.
Here. Yeah.
Absolutely, because like the entrances were like massively big and grand and stuff, and then I don't really recall this a lot in WWE. Perhaps it happens a lot, but I don't really remember it. The bell rang and the crowd popped huge because all of a sudden the crowd were like, the match has started.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this all night long. I'm so excited for it.
Well, this is something that's been building since the G1 in August. So this is a huge build for it. And, everyone's wanted to see this for quite some time. And we talked earlier about how when we were watching it, or the whole show this is, we were enjoying it. But it's weird, almost like a wine or something very delicate. It exposes more layers after you finish watching it, like a really smart, deep, interesting movie. And then, 2-3 days afterwards, you're like, wow, that was really good. That's how and I just got it again for this match. Like, every 5-10 minutes, I'm getting this wave of, oh my God, that was a good match. I loved the heckins out of it. But it's weird, in watching it, for the first 30 minutes, I was just enjoying it, I would say. And then Don Callis says, we're just past the 30-minute mark. And I was like, that felt like a quick 30 minutes, but this doesn't feel like a quick match. So what's going on here with my perception of time? But then the last 10 or however many minutes it was, I thought were awesome.
I thought the last 10 minutes were really good. You liked this match a lot more than I did. But I thought the last 10 minutes were really, really great. I'm not, that first half hour, I'm not sure I could pick out anything that was awesome in there, but I thought the last 10...
Reverse Hurricanrana?
Well, maybe that. But,
from the top rope.
But actually, I feel like that was in the last 10 minutes. But I thought the last 10 minutes were really great. I thought that was tremendous. But maybe I was just put into a bad mood by the commentary, because I think, as I said at the start, because you had Don Callis and Kevin Kelly talking about last year Okada had a 6-star match against Kenny Omega. Dave Meltzer gave it 6 stars in the Wrestling Observer. The bet makers now are talking about whether this is over or under 6 stars. That's how good Okada is. That's the great quality of match you can expect. And I'm like, you're setting the bar too high. You're setting the bar. It's like, Okada's going to have another 6-star match here, lads. Strap yourselves in. And if you set that bar high, you're never going to reach it. The reason why Omega Okada was so great last year is because they didn't sit there going like, this is going to be a 6-star match, lads.
Yeah.
You better get ready for it.
It's also too insider.
Oh, so insider.
Like, they were doing.
It's so self-aggrandizing.
Yeah. It's very patting on the back, because they did it for the whole night, and sometimes it was really funny. But you are right; it went to the annoying end of the spectrum here.
We do it with, like, again, you said, like, if you criticize WWE, then you should really criticize a lot of it. And WWE do this a lot. So Michael Cole, the worst commentator in the history of wrestling, will say that, maybe not the history, Josh Matthews exists, but he'll say, like, this is a match of the year candidate. This is going to be a match of the year. Whereas actually, it was all right.
It's a WrestleMania caliber match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're just sort of saying stuff and it kind of feels hollow.
So I'm just going to run through a few of the bits of the opening 30 minutes, because I imagine we've got a lot to say on the closing sequence.
Yeah.
Just to maybe remind you, fantastic opening exchange, because they just pause there, whipping the crowd into a frenzy, and they're staring each other down. Just the looks in their eyes. Okada is kind of determined, and Naito is just, well, tranquillo. He's calm. Don Callis had a great line of, like, the man's heart rate is probably not above 70 right now. He's so calm all the time because his whole character is, he knows it's his destiny to win this title. And he's just standing there. But the really good opening exchange in, like, a few grapples and reversals. And then it ends through, I think it was like an arm drag on Naito, but Naito sort of reversed it into a forward roll, ended up in the Tranquilo pose, which is where he's just lying down all casual and he points to the ceiling. Love that. Really, another bit where Naito, that there was sort of, who's the heel here? Like, Okada, everyone was cheering for Naito, but then Naito spat on Okada, and the crowd booed that. So that was a nice dynamic. Later on, Okada had Naito in a rear naked choke for ages, and Naito kept trying to get out of it using all these different reversals, but Okada kept putting it in. The Hurricane Rana off the top rope, this really good strike exchange where again Naito spits at Okada, brutal Germans. The Rainmaker is devalued. Like, any Rainmaker that happens in the first 20 minutes of a match is not the finish.
It's John Cena's AA.
Yeah, it's a shame. But something magical happens in the last 30 minutes of a match. You could have, like, it could be the 20th Rainmaker by that point. Any of those could be the finish.
Yeah.
But before then, it doesn't work for me. Destino, which is Naito's finisher. He hits that, but he doesn't make the pin. And now we're at 30 minutes.
Okay.
So this is the really good stuff.
This is where I thought the match, and I'm not taking anything away from that first 30 minutes. Perhaps it was the fatigue. I think you said at one point watching this, I think you were on the phone to someone and you said, like, if I was watching any of these matches individually, I'd have a much different opinion about them. But, like, at the end of a very long show, I think I was just a bit tired, a bit worn out. But yeah, I thought the match really kicked into high gear at the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, so another strike exchange. Okada is really, this strike exchange goes on for ages.
This was actually my favourite bit of the match, which is like, and because Naito is just giving these stiff shots, but Okada he's got nothing behind his, absolutely nothing behind him. But Naito's letting him do it because he wants to prove that, you've got an out, mate. And he's just throwing these very weak shots and stuff. And I thought it was a really awesome character moment. That's where Okada's very, very good.
Yeah, Okada's. There's no one better at the last 10 minutes of a match. Yeah. But yeah, Okada, he's glazed over. He's looking everywhere. He's not looking at Naito. He's just trying to focus on getting those shots in. Naito is looking at him. He's like, come on, give me another. Boof. Boom, back at you. Like, it's his destiny. I loved it. He knows it's going to happen for him. Then there's another spit, and he slaps Okada.
Oh, mate. I mean, he slapped him 6 hours ago in our time. I heard it live because it just echoed all around the world into our studio.
Then Naito goes for a Destino, but that is reversed by Okada into a Rainmaker. That was a great spot.
These exchanges were so smooth, and it's just like they're perfect moves for reversals and stuff. Like, you can reverse the Rainmaker into a Destino, you can reverse the Destino into the Rainmaker. Oh man, some of these were great, and it really was like take your breath away, edge of seat stuff.
And Okada did that thing I really love from the Omega matches where he holds on to the wrist, and they're both just laying there on the ground. Okada's tired, he can't get up, but he's holding on to Naito, ready to give that other Rainmaker. But Naito then hit a Destino. another kick out.
Yeah.
Okada gets a tombstone. He does a tombstone.
Yep.
And he's going to set up into a Rainmaker, but Naito reverses that into another Destino. But Naito stands up right away. He's like, I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I'm going to hit a second Destino immediately after that one, and that is reversed into a spinning tombstone.
Yeah.
And then a brutal Rainmaker.
The best Rainmaker of the night.
Oh, that is the finish. Okada wins. Amazing. Brilliant. Okada is still the champion. I thought this was the time they'd take it off him. But you know what? What does this do for Naito's character? He knows it's his destiny to win that belt. Maybe he thought this was the time I'm going to do it. But now he's knocked off kilter. What's going to happen to Naito now? Maybe the prophecy's wrong. Oh, it was amazing. I loved it. God. Oh, it was good. So I gave that 4 3/4 stars.
Do you want to give an over under what you think Meltzer's going to give it?
Oh, I don't know. I won't be so bold as to. I don't think he'd give it. Oh, maybe he would give it 5.
I think he'd probably give it 5 stars.
You think 5? Well, it was in the Tokyo Dome.
Exactly. At a WrestleKingdom, of course. Exactly.
So, yeah. Really, really good show. Overall thoughts?
Long show. But I very much enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is the thing. I'm talking about, I very much enjoyed it. But actually, you talk about all the elements of that. There's only a handful of matches that I didn't think were very good. Didn't think the tag, the gauntlet was very good. I didn't think I thought the tag match was fine. And I thought the Intercontinental match was fine. Everything else on the card, I thought was awesome. And I loved the Young Bucks. Loved the Cody Rhodes match. I loved Alpha Omega. I loved Suzuki. I loved the main event. I just thought, there's so much on this show to love.
You missed out the 4-way.
And and the 4-way, absolutely. Might be my favourite match of the night. Loved it.
7 stars. I totally agree. It's just that, the length's a problem, as isn't the problem for me, though. But, compare this to an NXT takeover.
Yes.
That's perfect. It's 2 hours.
It's 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just that's, and they just do 4 or 5 matches, and those 4 or 5 matches are usually you get 80% of them are 4-star matches, and then that always raises the bar of your overall thoughts on the show.
If you had just the last 4 matches and you brought it into 4 hours, what a show that would be.
Yeah.
So yes, that's all we've got time for. What did you think? Let us know in the comments, and click the videos that have just appeared below us here to catch up with the latest episodes of the WrestleTalk News or the WrestleRamble. Subscribe to the WrestleRamble on your chosen podcast provider by searching for WrestleRamble, not WrestleTalk as some people do. It is confusing. And subscribe to this channel. Support us on Patreon. Order a t-shirt. Order the magazine. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.